Welcome everybody to October, the Kriya Yoga online channel. This is our monthly practice. We've gone through quite a lot this year in regards to mental, emotional integration, learning how to let go, deepening our practice overall. So we're coming into the final three practices, October, November, and December. And I want to encourage you to occasionally review, if possible, the previous videos, because what we've gone over in those previous videos, that's a part of spiritual practice in general. It's good to focus on one particular practice or path a month, because that helps you get very good at it, more focused. But we need to remember that these are all things that we need to try to develop or bring into our lives on a regular basis. And why did I decide to do this kind of monthly practice? Well, because it's a lot easier to introduce one particular kind of practice at a time over a month than it is for me to sit down and tell you, here's the list of 12 or 24 things you have to do. Usually when we do that, we become overwhelmed. We don't really get anywhere. So keep this in mind, that the practices we've gone over up through September and October, and even when we get into November and December, these are things that you're going to want to review consistently. And it may be that you just begin again starting at January, and you look at the old video for January, and you keep cycling through on a monthly basis until you get the hang of them all. But this is part of what it means to grow spiritually into wisdom and to maturity, is in a sense learning to be disciplined, to know what is required in order to experience freedom of your consciousness, and what is required for you to be an expression of this vast, infinite consciousness, be a unique expression of it as your individual being. Now, this month, we're going to focus on the idea of fasting. And those of you who are fasting fanatics are probably thinking, goody, this is great. But this is a different kind of fasting. I'm not talking about fasting from gluten or from sugar or from meat or from whatever else you want to pick to fast from. I'm talking about spiritual fasting. And there's a video on this channel from a long, long time ago. It's really just a talk where I mentioned this before, but I want to bring it up again. And what is spiritual fasting? Yes, it can be. For Lent, I'm giving up sweets. Or for my health, I'm going to give up refined wheat and dairy products. That's one kind of fasting. But there's another kind of fasting which I think hits you at a much deeper level. And that has to do with your thoughts. Because maybe you've seen people who are vegetarians, or who are on the paleo diet, or who don't eat eggs, or who are vegans, or whatever it might be. And they're doing this diet, which is supposedly going to help them with their health, but really, it doesn't change them too much. Now, it's not true for everybody, so we don't need to make that blanket statement. But you'll see unhealthy vegetarians, you'll see unhealthy paleo people, you'll see unhealthy vegans. And sure, it may be that they're not doing it correctly, or they're not doing it well in regards to their body type, or even people who follow the Ayurvedic diet. But what I've found is that what makes really the biggest difference are your thoughts. Meaning, no matter how much you try to change your diet to be a vegan, or to just simply be a vegetarian, if you're still maintaining thoughts that you are doing this because you are unhealthy, or because you are afraid of getting sick, you haven't shifted very much, because the inner dynamic within you is that of, I am still unwell, and therefore I have to do something to become well. And once more, just to stress, change of diet is very helpful. But if you're doing it because it's supporting your health, you're saying, I'm doing this because I'm inspired to improve my health, so that I can run, so that I can play with my children, so that I can play musical instruments, so I can go to work and not be tired. I'm doing it for this inspiration. That is a way to fast and to take up a diet that I think will be most helpful for you. But if you're doing it because you're saying, I'm fat, I'm afraid of getting cancer or heart disease, or I want to avoid diabetes. Well, the action that you're taking is based on fear. And so every time you don't eat that cheesecake, or every time you don't eat that nice juicy steak, you are really reaffirming that you're doing this because of fear. And so this brings me to my point of fasting spiritually with your thoughts. Rather than thinking, I need to make a change because I am unhealthy, maybe single out that thought that you are unhealthy. And I'd like to encourage you that this month, whatever it might be, to take one particular negative thought or one particular negative pattern and focus on that. And if it's health, whenever the thought arises, I am doing this because I'm afraid of getting sick, or I am sick, whatever it might be, contemplate that. And ask yourself, what would it feel like if I was perfectly healthy, if I was strong, if I was vital, if I could run like I want to? And don't say things like, well, once you turn 50, it all goes downhill from there. Again, that's a thought that you need to fast from, because there are plenty of individuals that are healthy and strong into their 50s, their 60s, their 70s, 80s, even their 90s. So the thing I want you to focus on is not an action, as in a physical action, diet, or exercise. I want you to focus on the thought. And if you are exercising, if you are eating right, be aware of how you're thinking. When you do eat well, are you proud that this is going to give you vitality and energy so that you can live your day fully? Whenever you are exercising, are you exercising because it makes you feel good, because it makes you feel invigorated, it makes you feel strong? Or in the back of your mind, are you thinking, I need to do this because my dad had a heart attack at my age and I don't want to have that too? So we're going to single out a particular thought pattern, and you're going to try to imagine, what would it be like, what would the opposite of that be like? Meaning, I'm exercising, but I'm afraid of getting sick. You recognize it and you say, no. Now I'm exercising, and in your mind you can choose to say, I am vital, I am strong, this is allowing me to live my life more fully. So you're starting to shift the attention, the inner attention, your inner reasons in regards to why you're doing what you're doing. And that can be around anything in your life. So as you go forward with this month, October, pay attention to your thoughts. Pay attention to your motivations and why you do things. Find a particular situation or repetitive thought. You do something out of fear, and contemplate, well, what would be the positive equivalent of that? Okay, use the examples we've just used. When you think about relationships, rather than buying your wife flowers or giving your husband compliment, or boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it might be, instead of doing that because you want to get something out of them, or because you want them to be happy, or because you don't want them to think about you in a negative fashion, think instead, I'm giving this flower to my wife or my husband or whatever it might be because I have a loving, healthy, supportive, wholesome relationship. That's why I'm doing it. Not because I want to get something from them, but because I have that. When you're giving a compliment to someone, don't do it because you think you need to either pacify them or to prevent them from acting in a way you don't like, because you can't control how they're going to act. Think in your mind, I'm saying this because it's supportive of them, because it's sharing something uplifting with them, maybe improving their day. So this is your task for the month of October, is to pay attention to just one thought pattern. I say one because if you pay attention to all of them, you're going to get overwhelmed. But if you can do it with just one, then you'll start to see how you can apply it to others as you go forward in your life. So find one particular thought pattern, one particular motivation that you are actually doing out of fear, or you have these negative thoughts in your mind, and instead of engaging that thought, fast from that thought. And how do you fast from it? You put your attention on the opposite of it, the positive aspect of it. So again, review the examples I gave and see if you can sculpt your own way of thinking and fasting. So the fasting is identifying a particular pattern, motivation, or thought. When you have that thought, don't feel bad about it. Just acknowledge that it's there, because we all have patterns, and our brain is actually wired to repeat these negative things over and over and over again. But what we're doing is acknowledging it and then deciding to put our attention on the positive aspect of it. So for the month of October, you are fasting from a particular thought or motivation, and you're putting your attention on the positive part. Even if it feels stilted or fake or difficult, it feels that way because you're not used to it. But in time, you will see that it's easy for you to think this way and to be this way. You just have to train your consciousness to be different. You just have to rewire your brain a little bit, and that takes some effort and attention, and that's what this month is for. So enjoy. Let this be part of your practice. Keep up your meditations. Keep up your daily spiritual studies. And I'll see you, if not sooner, in November. Take care.